Hey folks, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something called constructive complaints as a way to help you with your forum on constructive complaints. So constructive complaints is an idea that I have coming out of the collaboration communication style. And basically when people are trying to do a collaborative communication style, it's nice to be able to do a constructive complaint. And a constructive complaint is when you're bringing up a problem, but you're doing it in a way that's positive, reminds people that they're all in the same boat, and sort of builds towards some kind of a solution, although maybe not being too specific so everybody can have their hand into the solution. So I want to talk a little bit about that and kind of discuss it a little bit. And that'll help you, mostly this just to kind of help you get ready for that forum on constructive complaints. Which is like kind of a subunit of the collaborative communication conflict style that we talked about. Okay, so let's take a look then at what I mean by constructive complaints and kind of get to that basic idea. We've all had a situation where we're pretty aware that people are coming at us with very unconstructive complaints. And so they might say things like, you never do any laundry around here, or you never clean up, or you never do any this or that, or you're terrible and there's no hope for you, you're hopeless, and you ruin everything, all that kind of stuff. Those are definitely the opposite of constructive complaints. Those are, I guess you could call those destructive complaints, if you will. All right, so let's look at constructive complaints specifically. And this is obviously this is a group communication topic in the bigger category of conflict or smaller category of conflict, and then talking about constructive conflict. And then one aspect of constructive conflict is collaborative conflict is constructive complaints. And here's a not so constructive complaint. All right. So constructive complaints, again, part of collaborative conflict. The idea of constructive complaints is you build things. That's the basic idea there. And here we try to focus on the facts. So people tend to get into a lot of evaluative remarks like, that's terrible, that's horrible, that's awful. Here we try to kind of more focus on the facts, like, stating things like, we've noticed that you've been late. We noticed that we haven't seen the assignments getting done. Those are the facts, right? Rather than, all these evaluative remarks. Also, we try to move away from more of the you statements like, you did this or you did that or you never do anything, or and get into I statements like, I feel frustrated when the house is messy, or we statements like, we feel like things have been going really, really, really off the rails right now, instead of you. Okay. And then another aspect of this is to avoid blaming people for everything. I mean, obviously, if people are responsible, they need to take responsibility, but blaming everything on the other person, when that's not really fair, sometimes can be something that doesn't work very well if you're trying to be constructive with your complaints. And then we also try to avoid absolute language. This is language that has things like never, ever, or always, that type of absolute language, because rarely are things never or always. And there's kind of a funny song by Taylor Swift that's called We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. This song is funny, actually, because it kind of plays off this idea that we should probably avoid those kind of absolute language characteristics. And then also avoid emotionally loaded language. So using things like, stupid or dumb, or those types of words, evil, name calling, that kind of thing, that tends to be emotionally loaded, or anything that might trigger a person. If there's something that that word is going to trigger them, try to avoid that. But instead, try to emphasize common ground, common fate. We're all in the same boat. We all have the same future. We're all kind of working towards the same goals. That's the idea there. And we really are. A lot of times we are kind of all dependent on each other, sort of. And we all do have kind of a common faith. So just reminding people that a lot of times that the conflict is not like over the goal, but how to achieve the goal. and that we're all on the same side. And then maybe kind of hint at a solution, although don't be too specific where people feel like you're like locking them into one specific solution, but just this idea that we're getting into like, brainstorming a plan or building towards something instead of saying like this thing is this horrible thing and it's going to be like this forever and it's always going to be bad and we're never going to get better and things are never going to improve. We're kind of getting into the idea that there could be some kind of a plan and kind of opening up to discussing it and just kind of emphasizing hope, being hopeful that there can be a better situation in the future. And then open it up for others to share their thoughts so that everybody feels like they can say their opinion. So that's the idea of the constructive complaints. And that's the idea there, is to build, 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 as opposed to destroy, destroy, destroy. Yeah, so that's what we have there for our constructive complaints. Let me see here. Okay, so like going to the actual forum now of this, if we go into, let's go to student view, we can kind of see where the forum is. And here it is. It says here, San Francisco State University Group Communication Constructive Complaint Worksheet. A directions part of adopting a more collaborative approach to group conflict is to state your concerns in a constructive way. By constructive, we mean communication that reminds us we're all in the same boat and builds towards brainstorming a collaborative solution. Please choose two of the following statements and convert those two statements to a more constructive version. You can choose any two you please. Example, original statement is, hey, you are always late to every single group meeting. And then the constructive version is, the project is due next week. So that's very factual, focusing on the facts. And we are concerned that we are running out of time. So emphasizing like we all have a common like destination, a common fate here. And notice that there's no loaded language here like you're stupid or you're a flake. You have been late for our last 4 meetings. So sticking with the facts, no name calling again. So we can be successful, could you please be on time to our remaining meetings before the presentation? Question mark here. Kind of opening it up for them to answer. And then we are happy to brainstorm ways we can help, kind of opening up the idea of that, there's more than one solution to this. There's not like our way or the highway, but we're opening it up to different ways of doing this. And so let's take a look at some of these other ones. And again, you're only having to pick 2 to work on here. And it says here like, hey, you were always late to every, you are a total flake in this group. So here you might try to find a different way to state that. Like here, you obviously see the you statement, so you want to address that, and then calling the person a flake, you, again, the you, trying to get away from you. Always, so this is an extreme term, this is a absolute type of term we want to avoid. And then crazy sometimes can be kind of a triggering, like emotional word. So kind of cleaning that up, and then you get to put your response there. You can just cut and paste this, 2 of them, and then put your way of doing it. And there's no one way to do this. There's probably more than one way to convert these to constructive. I'm the only person that cares at all about this group project or this class. So I guess that's an I statement, but instead of you. So that's a kind of a step in the right direction. But then we get into only, kind of extreme. And then it says, you are addicted to your phone and love ignoring this group. This is you statement again. Addicted, kind of triggering, calling them an addicted person. And then that kind of thing. And then here you get to choose this. I don't know why it says this over for next page, additional exercise. We'll skip that. And it says, this is the loser group. Ooh, triggering word. Yeah. And no one is even logged into the Google Grok. No one, I bet at least one person did. So that's another thing. You have such a big mouth that no one else in the group can talk. Finding a better way to say that here. Again, you and then big mouth. That's kind of triggering, and that's going to be a little bit, I would say, emotional. And you are too quiet. Thanks for the silent treatment towards this group. You, silent treatment triggering, kind of working with that. Again, here, you always have to have your way. Clearly, you did not notice this class is a group communication, not Dave's way. So, obviously lots of sarcasm here and triggering kind of emotional language. Clearly, it's kind of triggering as well. That is the worst PowerPoint, the worst, very absolute. Like, I'm sure there are worse PowerPoints out there. PowerPoint slide I've ever seen for a group presentation. So weak, again, emotional. Try to find a more constructive way. It doesn't really build towards any kind of a solution. Most of these don't. And I can't believe how stubborn you are using the you statement. Just do it our way, getting bossy here. So kind of find a different way. So those are just ones that you can do, and then you can just add your topic there. So yeah, so it should be fun. Like I said, this is something that, sort of piggybacking off of the collaborative conflict topic. And it's, it's kind of fun to discuss and look at. And yeah, and the purpose of this video is mostly just to kind of help you out with your forum as you're kind of going through everything. And yeah, hope you enjoy it, and email me if you have any questions, but hope you enjoy. Thanks so much. Constructive complaints.